Good morning. Good morning. This is an audio check. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm in a different location with a different setup. Oh my goodness. Yasmin Sharif. Hearts, hearts, I see you. Can you hear me? Can you tell me thumbs up, thumbs down? Can you hear me? Yasmin, I would love to know if my audio is working. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's you and me, girl. I am so excited to be here with you. And I'm sure more will come. And I want to start with this quick little comment to your emoji with the heart eyes. I'm going to do a live, not today, but on this idea of being able to shift from freeze to flirt, and not necessarily flirting with somebody that you're like wanting to flirt with romantically. Yeah. But flirting with life across the board. Like, how do we learn to build the circuits within us of flirting with life across the board? Maybe that's a good topic for next week. We'll start the new year off with it today. Welcome to everybody that's here. Tell me where you're coming from. What part of the world are you in? What's your name? I'm so excited that you're here because today I am going to be sharing, talking, and hopefully having engagement and connection with you about the holidays. We just went through the holidays, and it can be challenging for many. You're in Denver. Yay. I bet I could look around somewhere and see you. I'm at Cheeseman Park. So I don't know if you're near or far, but we're there every day with the dog playing and engaging in our freeze to flirt circuits with life. My name is Dr. Renee Ostertag. I am a nervous system ninja because why? Because I call myself that because that's what makes sense to me. I'm a licensed physical therapist and have been so for over 20 years, 23 years. And I'm also a psychotherapist because I discovered that mind and body are connected and joints don't live in a silo. They are affected by our thinking and our feeling, our relationships, our past experiences, and our environment. So my name is Dr. Renee Ostertag. If this finds you in a state of crisis and despair and you need medical support, please take action to support yourself in finding that. Legally, I'm supposed to say this is not medical advice, it is educational in nature. And if you watch today's video, you will see us engaging in a discussion around trenches of truth in your body, mind, and family dynamics, relationships, all of that came up during the holidays. Whatever you celebrate or don't, you have a family of origin, and it has an impact on your nervous system, which drives your experience in body and mind. Tell me, where are you from, tuning in from? And did you have any experiences over the holidays? A simple yes or no would be great, where you got triggered. Or, and did you fall into a pattern of behaving, thinking, feeling that's old? For many of us, myself included, when we go back to our family of origin engaging, relating, I watched myself turn into a little 14-year-old, a little 6-year-old, a little 2-year-old. And it's awful. It's like I'm on this fucking high speed train and I can't get off. I'm watching myself behave in these old patterns. And I'm like, gosh, I thought I outgrew that. I thought I was beyond that. Give me a yes or a no. Did any of that come up for you? You got stuck in an old rut or you got triggered in holidays. And I would guess if you got triggered, it's because an old rut got kicked up. And the whole reason this conversation came up for me is because I was talking with a family member of mine. And sorry, my phone was off. That's such a good reminder that I am practicing the spirituality of imperfection. I'm embracing messiness. Azur, I'm super jealous of you that you didn't have anything. Tell me why. What are you doing maybe right? Or what are you doing that enabled you not to have a trigger or an episode come up? Because I'm still striving. It's definitely getting better than they were before. So I'm talking with a person in my family who is the youngest of four, just like me. And we both noticed that we go back to the family of origin and we fall into the old patterns. Yeah, Yasmin, you know what I'm talking about. This pattern when you visit the family. It's kind of like the ball gets rolling before we even know it's rolling. And then by the time we realize it, sometimes we're halfway down the hill. Oh, yes, Azur, always seeking peace and quiet. I surrounded myself with very few people. That's brilliant, right? Not a lot of opportunity for those old systems in you to get triggered and activated. Maybe you've dug all the trenches out, maybe not. But if you don't set yourself up to have them triggered, they won't trigger. Boxing and bulldogs. Families make me comfortable with uncomfortable with all kinds of nonsense. Yes. I think that talks a little bit about what I'll get into about expectations when we meet with families about we can expect nonsense and we can expect craziness. Like humans are crazy. The porcupine effect is real. You know, the hedgehog's dilemma, total side note on this, but the hedgehog's dilemma, if you haven't heard of it, look it up. It's fascinating. People are like hedgehogs, and we have this dilemma. So, the hedgehog's dilemma is this: they can't regulate their temperature and blood when it's cold. So, when it's cold, they need to get close to one another, otherwise, they die. And when they get close to one another, they stick each other with their porcupines. So it's this dilemma of, I need you, but getting close to me or you hurts. And humans have the same thing. And so, talking with my nephew about these roles of the youngest that we fall into made me think about the autobiography of my life in 5 short chapters. And I have it here because I wanted to read it to you. It's by Portia Nelson. Boxing and bulldogs. I ain't yelled at anyone in 2 years. Showing up for Thanksgiving dinner and the boxing gloves are off. I totally celebrate you. Those are like big deals. And I want to say why, as related to the autobiography in 5 short chapters by Portia Nelson. So, chapter 1, I walk down a street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault, and it takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I still don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I am in the same place. It isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. I'm going to put a little asterisk there and come back to that. It's habit. It's my fault. I know where I am. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down a different street. So I'm talking with my family member who's also the youngest of 4, and we were talking about the roles. Now, Esther Perel talks about roles in relationship and how roles in relationship are like a play, and I have a role and you have a role. And every role is defined by a set of expectations that you enact. And that includes a set of responsibilities, a set of privileges, and a set of interactions. And I would take this further, that these roles that we play, that we need others to play. I can't be a victim if there is no perpetrator. I can't be a rescuer if there's no victim. I can't be the youngest of four if there isn't three olders. So we need these other people to play out the role that we play in the play of our lives. And all of these expectations, responsibilities, privileges, interactions organize the relationship, right? So Azure has changed the expectations in his system around the holidays because he sets himself up to walk down a different street with seeking peace and quiet. Yasmin has also learned to walk either across the street from that pit or down a different street. And same with boxing and bulldogs. You haven't yelled at anyone and you took off your boxing gloves. So you took off the expectation, and that expectation lives in your body. And I was thinking about my role as the youngest, and I'd encourage you to think about what roles do you have in your life? And what are the expectations, the responsibilities, the privileges, and the interactions that go with it, right? As the youngest of four, the expectation I have built into my nervous system is to always do what everybody else wants. It doesn't matter what I want because I'm the youngest and what I have to say doesn't really count. Because what do I know? I'm the youngest. So it's my job to please everybody. It's my job to make everybody happy. And what that's done is it's disconnected me from having an awareness of what are my own true wants, needs, desires, and feelings, right? So the role of the youngest comes with a set of rules. And what happens in my body is those rules are sort of set up like this. So I get tension in my neck right here, and I'm pretty cut off and shut down from knowing what I need and knowing what I want and being able to say, I want this, or no, I don't want that. And so what that looked like over the holidays is I was invited, because I'm very fortunate, right? With the privileges, you're invited, in my case, to all these family events. And it was like Thursday this, or Friday this, Saturday this, Sunday this, in the morning, in the evening. And I was just overwhelmed. And I'm already in the role, in my mind, in my body. And it's like I'm in the pit in that autobiography. I've already fallen in the pit and I don't even know that I fell in again. And what was really cool about it, strangely, is that I got sick. And this was a great example to me of I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to go to and do all these things, even though I love these people, because I need some alone time. My body gave me the opportunity to have alone time by getting sick. I thought I had COVID. I was covered with chills, aching body. I was exhausted. I took 3 naps on Saturday. One was 3 hours long. And I was thinking about the roles of the youngest and how that goes along with these rules of engagement and how heroic my body was in creating that illness to give me an out from that set of roles. And it reminds me how in that case, my body getting sick was quite heroic because it gave me an out and it gave me a way out of the stuck rut that I was in as the youngest, being powerless and helpless with no voice or choice. And it reminds me of a quote by Craig Groeschel. And he says that a rut, right, neurobiologically, behaviorally, thinking, feeling, a rut is like a grave with no ends. So think about that for a second, folks. What do you do in a grave? You're dead. Not a lot of life happening, a lot of freeze, shut down physiology. So you're in a grave with no end. So you're in this grave and there's no end and it just keeps going infinitely. And that's what a rut is. And I fell into that rut. And the way out of the rut, according to Craig Groeschel, and I like this, is to dig trenches of truth. And so you have this rut. Let's say your nervous system is going along this highway and there's no off ramp. You can build an off ramp by digging trenches of truth and speaking truth to what is happening. So I was fortunately able to engage some curiosity, and I've been practicing nervous system ninja awareness for a long time, and I could see that the truth was that my voice wasn't able to speak to my sister, but my body did on my behalf. I'm not feeling well. I think I'm overwhelmed and exhausted and I need a break. So I'm going to take today and rest and be there tomorrow. And so I was able to dig a trench of truth. First, by acknowledging it within myself. Tell the truth. I don't want to go to all these things. That was my truth. And I had to speak that to myself first. And then, if you're lucky, like I was, you have a sister or whoever it is you need to tell the truth to that can hear your truth. And what a blessing that is to have relationships where your truth is welcome here. And as I told her my truth, it dug a trench and I was able to create an off ramp on that role of disempowered, helpless, powerless, youngest child who has to please everybody to keep them happy. Oh, Yasmin, I have definitely taken on the rescuer role from childhood. Amen. Join the club. And it showed up big time. Ooh, this is juicy in my former couple relationship. Oh, take a minute and notice how that lives in your body. Because for me, I'm already ready to crawl out of my skin because that hits home for me. To say it didn't serve me is an understatement, Yasmin. Raise your hand if you can relate, right? And as I'm reading that loud, I can feel that trench in my system. And I'm like, oh, get on up out of that. Because to rescue another is quite a disempowering act with underlying good intentions, because we're operating out of these roles from our past, right? The autobiography, the first 3 chapters, I fell in a hole, I fell in a hole, I fell in a hole. Yasmin, after you moved out of rescuer role, what did you move into? I'm super curious. And what other roles exist for all of you that are entrenched in your nervous system that work for you or against you? Like, what roles do you have in your body, mind, that show up in family dynamics or relationship with anybody? What roles do you have that fall into that chapter 1, 2, 3 of the autobiography? I fell in a pit, I fell in a pit, I fell in a pit. Ugh, ugh. I can tell you, just saying that, I get tightness in my jaw. I want to contract down in my abs. It's like, ugh. And then this gets all tight. That is how a disempowered role shows up in my body. And I'm having to literally move my body to like dig and remind myself of these trenches of truth, because the nervous system, your muscles, the way that you breathe, the way that you think, the way you speak, the way you behave, all of these are habits and patterns, like a roadmap in your mind and body. And we can, thank goodness, make new roads for ourselves. And one of the first things to do is to tell the truth to yourself, which I will say is not easy, And then discern, is this something that I can tell to the other person? Arthur Schopenhauer had a beautiful quote about the truth and how all truth with a capital T passes through three phases. And I just made a lot more than three with my hands, and that's all right. The first phase is that truth is ridiculed. It's made fun of. And I have to tell you, my own inner critic was ridiculing me for needing rest. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Get your ass up out off the couch. Go work. Go be around people. Like, my own inner critic was ridiculing me for needing rest. So Arthur Schopenhauer's first phase of truth is it is ridiculed. And the second phase of truth is that it is violently opposed. And the way that showed up for me was that it was like, push, you don't need rest. Go, you can make it happen. Look at what this is doing to my neck. Oh, it's painful, folks. The third phase of truth, as we learn to speak it, first phase, it's ridiculed. Second phase, it's violently opposed. And third phase, it is accepted as self-evident. And so, of course, it's natural that I needed rest. I've worked really hard this year, and it's the end of the year, and there's a lot of deadlines, and there's a lot of family things, and it's natural, self-evident. Of course, my sister was so lovely about it. Take rest, and we'll see you tomorrow. So it is accepted as self-evident, like, yes, that makes sense. That's true. So talk to me. What is this bringing up in you? What is this making you think about your own roles and ruts, or areas that you're proud of where you don't do that anymore? I want to hear from you. I want to know what's happening. You know, my background is in academia. I've been an educator for 20 something years, and I spent a good chunk of, I don't know, 6 or 8 years working as an affiliate faculty at the University of Colorado's PT program. And I'm not interested in continuing that form of education here. I want to learn from all of you as well, right? Like, I can talk at you like an academic, but I'd rather be engaged in conversation and connection with you. Educator, I make my mouth tired. And by tired, I mean dry. So I'm going to take a break. Carolyn, shit. Schmidt, not shit. I'm so sorry. That was just terrible. I have some really beloved family friends that we grew up with, and they had a last name that had the SHIT word in it. And I always felt so bad for their kids because it was like they're a Swiss family growing up in America, and they have the word shit in their last name. It wasn't pronounced that way in Switzerland. And for privacy, I'm not going to say the whole name. But yeah, Carolyn shit. I'm so damn sorry you're late. But I'm not sorry that your last name isn't shit. Like, that's a good piece of news right there. Trenches of truth, my friend. Truth telling sets us free. Humor sets us free. Engaging with play and banter, all those things are wonderful. And that's why I trained in improv, is because it let me, interestingly enough, find and discover different characters within myself. And this is, I think, my 4th YouTube live, and I'm discovering different characters of Renee. And I don't know yet who this YouTube live character is in Renee, but because of your engagement, I'm helping myself find her, and it's awesome. Gratitude is the key to happiness. Yes, so often. And I'm seriously grateful for all the 11 people here that are live and for the growing number that will. So tell your friends. And I'm really excited for the people that are watching this later, Because that's a weird infinity loop of time. Like you're watching me asynchronously, but we're here with you right now. Ah, yes. Okay. Oh, Elizabeth, great question. Ah, oh my gosh. I think I know who AZPPMD is. The Broadmoor, you, my friend, talk about you never know the impact that you have on somebody. There's somebody with us here live. Oh my gosh. Beautiful surgeon, wonderful human, amazing man. And he gave me permission to be my fuller self in the context of the medical system. I have all kinds of baggage and past history with the healthcare system. And talk about a role. It locked me up into a prison of pain within my own nervous system, which is connected to what Elizabeth was saying. What is it about the neck and throat? I think it's our ability to speak. So this doctor here totally gave me permission to be a fuller version of myself, the playfulness that still lives in me. And it kind of got like dimmed by all the years of my experience in healthcare. And so we're all passing a torch here of illuminating light and joy. We're walking down a different street. We're digging trenches of truth and living new highways in our nervous system. So, yay, happy, happy, happy. I want to speak to gratitude and the neck and throat. Oh, it's absolutely. Here's my thoughts about that, Elizabeth. When I think about the autobiography, like the first role or the first chapter, I walk down a street, there's a deep hole, I fall in, I'm lost, I'm helpless, I'm powerless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. So for me, as the autobiography in 5 short chapters lives in my body, the I'm lost, I'm helpless, I'm powerless, my body goes into a collapse. And so the first place I notice it is kind of twofold, across here and across here, right? Irritable bowel syndrome and neck pain, dizziness, headaches. Not a big surprise, okay? So we sink down in the perception of being powerless or helpless, hopeless, despair, this pit of despair. We collapse here. Ugh. And so when we collapse there, it's really interesting from an autonomic nervous system perspective. What happens is when our nervous system goes into what's called freeze physiology, we're overwhelmed and the system shuts down to try and protect us from the overwhelming life threat, right? It's like playing dead, playing possum. That animal brain inside of us takes over heroically to protect us. And in doing so, it literally paralyzes the vocal cords. When I got that, I was just shocked because I used to beat myself up. Why didn't I say that thing? Why couldn't I think of the right thing as a comeback? Why didn't I stand up for myself? Well, because neurobiologically, no, you're paralyzed. And I think about that for a second. I've never thought about it quite like this in this way. But like my inner critic loves to beat me up for my own body freeze responses, which drives so much of that neck pain and tension, right? The neck pain here are biomechanically, we're totally cut off. The head weighs a lot more here. So all these have to hold up a heavy head. We're cut off from our vocal cords. We're not breathing well. So the whole system's set up to have a hard time. And think about like your pelvis too, right? Like if you're scrunched down like this, watch what happens. My head here versus here. Now this head weighs more because it's further out from my center of gravity and my foundation has flopped. And when a foundation in a home is crooked, the third floor window is going to be off, right? So if your foundation's off, your third floor window's up. So the whole system, I think, is set up to fail us, even though it's trying to protect us. That's, I think, why all the neck and throat that store so much tension. Because as children, freeze is our best response. It's our only response. We can't fight our parents, they're bigger. We can't run away because we need them for survival. So, live persona. What else? What else? Talk to me, my friends. Thank you for answering my question. Haha. Yeah, I bet you are, Elizabeth. And I mean that with fierce compassion because I can relate. Like, yeah, you're dealing with pelvis and throat issues oh, this is going to hurt me to say out loud, along with recovering from CPTSD. And I was going to say, and I didn't, was going to say it, I did say it. The thing I was going to say, which I already said, is I know CPTSD. And I said that out loud very differently, intentionally. Because when I first read it, I had this response of that collapse. So painful. And so I decided to dig a trench of truth to expand my neurological horizons. And instead of say it how I always say it, I'm just going to say it different. CPTSD. Like when I run a rep of saying CPTSD like that, it's gonna practice shaking up how that program lives inside of me. And I got to tell you, one of the things that helps that so much that you're dealing with, Elizabeth, is getting the right support and being able to regulate one's nervous system. I have a very dear friend of mine, Beth Ann Fisher, a brilliant human, a very body mind oriented physical therapist like myself that specializes in the pelvic floor. And she says to me, Renee, you could treat half of the patients that I see because 50% of any kind of pelvic floor issues get better with nervous system regulation work, which is amazing. Like there's so much hope and promise for us. And yet we won't see it if we're stuck in that rut. Chapters 1, 2, and 3. What do? Find a way out. It's not your fault. That's the only place where I disagree with chapter 3. You fell in the pit. It's habit. It's my fault. It might be neurological habit, but I don't like that it's your fault. Louise, you rock star. Hello. She says, yeah, I'm curious about the asterisks that you put next to the 3rd chapter. And that's exactly where I'm going. We're like dialed in, great minds. Yes, we are synced into the same wavelength. Did you get the heat sorted out in your home? I hope you did. So, chapter 3, she talks about, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's habit. It's my fault. I know where I am. I get out immediately. That has not been my experience with chapter 3. Glad you got the heat fixed, Louise. I will be oftentimes compelled to go into that hole, that pit of despair, even if I don't want to, because the momentum of my neurological program drives me into it. And I don't think that's my fault. I think that is neurological chemical comfortability. We are familiar with certain set of chemicals and pathways in our nervous system. And to dig out trenches of truth is difficult. And so we don't want to lose the comfortable familiarity of the weird, fucked up security blanket of that pit. And it's hard to dig our way out. And I don't know, existential kink, they say you like it and you get off on it. I don't disagree, and I also disagree because if our nervous system is in a rut, in a groove, and chemically comfortable and programmed to go that way, you will, and you don't have a choice in it because it is a subcortical process, meaning if I tap your patellar tendon, your knee is going to kick. You don't have a choice in it. The difference with our thinking, feeling, and behaving in these ruts and grooves of our nervous system is that we can take what is subcortical and make it cortical. Once we're aware of these things, we can get out. But I don't think it's our fault. I think the nervous system has a large degree of responsibility in programming us to go into that pit again and again and again, because our body's wired that way, right? Like the stuck tension in your neck and throat. The stuck in your pelvis, the stuck way you breathe, all those things drive you into the pit. So it's not your fault. I do think it becomes our responsibility. And if we're lucky, we have, like Elizabeth says, therapists that believe in the polyvagal theory and ways to support us while we do the hard work of telling the truth and digging out new trenches. And so to beat yourself up for being, self-sabotaging or stuck in a pattern, I don't know how much value that adds from my own personal experience. And the research has my back on that, because self-compassion, according to a whole bunch of research, some of which comes from Kristen Neff, who has a PhD in self-compassion, she and other research shows that being compassionate for and toward yourself is far more effective in life performance across the board than beating yourself up. So I guess compassion is another way to dig yourself out, right? Like gratitude, somebody mentioned, surrounding yourself with peace. Finding a breath, calming down, and then celebrating when you walk across the street and you pick a different street. Yeah, Elizabeth, you are experiencing the same thing with improvement. And I think it's worth taking a safety second together here to take a second to orient to something safe, like an accomplishment or an achievement, improvement in something. That's worth noticing. And it's worth celebrating, and it's worth orienting to hey, I can get out of the pit. It need not be permanent. And I even burped and I let myself do that on camera because my own digestive IBS, CPTSD, all that stuff. My friend is Jewish, and there's a Yiddish, I think, expression of sneezing to the truth. I would modify it, and I burp to the truth, because when I'm speaking truth, hands down every time, my nervous system will burp to the truth. And it's yep, pay attention, because I'm speaking something good that my digestive system agrees with. And when your digestive system agrees with something, your autonomic nervous system is deeply happy. And you can celebrate that because you are connected to the circuits within you of health, growth, and restoration. I'm not pledging that you belch all over town, but I will give some evidence up to burping to the truth. So, the last thing that I want to share with you is a little hack. And I want to hear more. Louise, did you fall into any pits or traps? Or did you walk down the 5th Street over the holiday? We all have our own holidays, including candles and miracles and Christmas Jesus presents. Who knows? Whatever you do is cool. So, my last patient interaction that I had before the long weekend was with a woman who is stuck in a rut with her partner, husband. Carolyn Schmidt, not shit. You also celebrate burping. Way to go. We are not alone in this. Yeah, I don't burp all over the place. I do it therapeutically or with those people that know what's going on, because otherwise it's just breaking a big set of social rules, and I'm just not willing to die on that hill most of the time. So, working with this woman, and she, oh, fuck, she is ready to annihilate her husband, and she loves him, right? And that's, I think, one thing amongst probably many that marriage is good for, is that you learn how to practice love and hate at the same time, right? So she loves her husband and hates him. And he's just stuck in a rut of deep blue physiology, like despair, hopeless, helpless. It's not worth having any joy because it's just going to go away, sort of thing. And she's a pretty like active go getter kind of girl. And she's like, whoa, really questioning, what am I doing in this marriage? Because this guy's so stuck. That means I'm going to stay stuck because you're a product of the 5 top people you hang out with. So, whoa, whoa, whoa. So she's stuck in this rut of like, let me see if I can get into her character. Oh my God, Louise, I saw what you wrote. I'm coming back to you. So, all right, I'm in character. And she's just, this is her character. Like, look at my mouth, look at my eyes, like fierce focus, fists are ready to fight. Imagine a relationship with this person. So, this is her. I'm not making fun of her because I've been there too. This is just her rut of like fight. And he's just like this. He's like so shut down and disconnected. And she's like, how? Because her natural rut in the family dynamic of her marriage, she's going to fight, which is just going to make him shut down all the more. And so after she keeps fighting, you get tired of fighting, and she just goes like into that shutdown mode herself. And I watched her in a moment shift from like fight into that. And I was like, pause right there. Like she sunk, collapsed, and did the whole chin poke forward thing. So I was like, okay, you're relaxing. And it was a good relax because of what we were talking about, but she shifted into the pit collapse. And I was like, okay, just see if you can feel that within yourself and notice that within yourself. And now I'm going to invite you to relax into the good moment of insight in the conversation that we had without sinking, but see if you can stay tall and relax at the same time. So remember that your spine lives inside of you, this gorgeous, flexible, kind of moves like a fish type of spine. See if you can soften around that spine and let your spine hold you up. And then as you breathe out, purse lip exhale. And here's the like super fun part that I've never done before with a patient. I made it up in the moment with her, and then I applied it to myself. Stay tuned. This is very exciting. So when we exhale, right, what's the rut, the pattern, the habit of our exhale? Right? My body's like, I'm tired of that one. What if you found a different trench of truth in your exhale, which is letting go? This was so exciting because she started kind of doing these teeny little movements, right? Like imagine you're kind of drawing, if you had a pen off of your nose, you're drawing little cartoons or something, but actually you could do whatever you want. But I started thinking about this exercise because it worked so well for her because she was able to relax into a more ventral vagal state instead of sinking into a dorsal state. So she was able to build a new groove for her letting go, which ultimately lets her then relate to the husband in a more engaged, sort of curious way. In She gave herself the third way, right? The first way is fight to come towards him. The second way is to like collapse and give up because you're tired. But then there's this third way of like engaging with a flexible, resilient nervous system and curiosity. What else could I think? What else could I say? What other way could I look at him or access some curiosity and compassion about what he's going through? And she couldn't find that third way because she was just locked into the rut. And so the letting go, she, again, back to the trenches of truth, she found a new off ramp to her grave, right? That rut neurobiologically by exhaling. And you can imagine drawing little figure eights everywhere as you tap into infinity of new choices. You could imagine, and I like doing this, so I'm going to offer it to you, that you have like an energy bubble and aura around you, but it has a boundary and it has an edge. And I have historically experience of rupture in my own energy boundaries. And so I can feel other things and I get hijacked by other people's energies or nervous system arousal. And so I think about blowing out, and it's like strengthening the container of my system, my human system. And science has my back on this, right? The energy waves of our heart electromagnetically can be measured, and they go about 4 feet in every direction outside of us. And so I'm loosening up my neck. I made a video on this. Chris, if you're here, can you type in the title of that video? I think it's called Can't Let Go. We can put a link to it in the live chat. But watch that video because it's worth watching. And I'll tell you why. She did it. She felt better. I then started practicing it. And I practiced, like, you know how a fireman goes into a burning building and they don't care about the artwork on the wall. They are committed to putting out the fire. So they come in with this fire and they demolish everything in their path, but the job gets done. They put out the fire. And I like this thought of fireman exhale. I will do whatever it takes. I'll cut through whatever bullshit in my energy system that's mine or not, and I will strengthen and infuse the container of my system because that's the job that I want to get done. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And so I'll cut through my chemical comfortability. I'll cut through those stuck ruts of my nervous system. I will cut through the bullshit of old programming and other people's programming and cultural programming to restore the integrity of the container of my own nervous system. And that's what I like. It breaks me free in my neck. It breaks me free in my spine. It gives me access to returning back to calm, safe physiology without needing to fall into collapse. And so we'll call it the fireman's exhale. And, you know, if I'm being racist or privileged or something, I don't know, do we need to call it the fireperson's exhale? What are they calling firemen these days? Carolyn, I'm so glad you love it. Yes, strengthen the container of your system. We come built in, hardwired, factory installed to heal. Like, we forgot that. And that's part of my like moral injury or whatever you want to call it from the medical system. We've not, through fault of anybody's really, gotten so trained in this negativity bias, and we look for what's wrong and we point it out in you and we point it out in me, and then it's exhausting. And did you see what I just did? I shook my head while I was breathing out. So I'm letting it go. Carolyn, I'm so glad you're feeling hope and joy learning from this. And it's not my, that is exactly what I was wanting, is to learn together. It's not like I have all the answers. I have questions, I have thoughts, I have opinions. I have some answers on what works for me. I have some answers on what works for other people, sometimes based on pattern recognition and 20 plus years of doing this work, which I love. But ultimately, the answers live within your system. And this is the bugger about it, because when we're running the problem physiology or circuitry, it's on a different plot of land in the real estate than the solution. And so we got to dig the trenches within ourselves, from problem circuitry to solution circuitry. And, you know, social engagement is probably, this might be a bold statement, but the only way to do it until you have it within yourself. Oh, God, this is just wonderfully freeing up my jaw. It's making me drool, thinking about exhaling with just, see how I made a noise that time? You can blow out the candles. You can be a fireman violently breathing. You can make some noise with it. But every time you do that, you're digging a trench of a new access to new circuits within you to break out of these ruts. Oh, Yasmin, I'm so glad. Just realizing my previous comment, answering your question on, so Yasmin's comment didn't show up because it was too long. I love that you contributed that much. And I would love, once this is posted, you could put it in there. Oh, Yasmin, you are talking about the trap of the third chapter where we fall into the pit and then we beat ourselves up and create a whole bunch of shame and blame and critical annihilation of ourselves. And yes, self-compassion is absolutely challenging to find when we are in a feedback loop, brain to body, body to brain, of critical annihilation. It locks us in that pit of despair. Right? And then we start beating ourselves up. How did I not see the whole sooner? How did I not better enforce the boundaries? Because your programming didn't have access to something different. Not your fault. Neurobiologically driven, and thank God, changeable. And when we tell the truth to ourselves and to safe people, that is a way out. When we practice smiling eyes from freeze to flirt. I'm going to do a live on that next week, so come back for that one. I'm excited. We're going to learn how to neurobiologically flirt with life in 2023. Not being alone, and I love the work of Kristen Neff and self-compassion. Yasmin, if you haven't studied her work, selfcompassion.org, self-compassion.org. She's got some beautiful guided meditations and journal prompts to help you train how to get out from self-critical to self-compassion. And self-compassion isn't just, oh, I'm so sorry, right? Like the tender version of self-compassion that I wasn't just making fun of. Like, I'm sick, I need tender self-compassion. But there's times where we need fierce self-compassion. Mama bear, fight to say no, argue for your needs. And arguing isn't fighting. Arguing is just a way to get to the heart of a matter. So, I'm really proud of all of us for showing up here today. I really enjoyed this conversation with you, and I enjoyed the evacuating my old role of academic professor and healthcare provider that has to have all the answers, because I don't have all the answers. I have questions, I have thoughts, I have opinions, and I have a heart desire to connect with you and to learn together. So thank you for being here, because that's how I do that. And that's how we all do it together, and a rising tide lifts all ships. So I created a nervous system ninja program, and it is a 12-week-long daily training of digging trenches in your own nervous system to be able to learn how to cross the street and walk down a different street. Oh, Louise, you walked down a different street over the holidays, kind of. And then you kept sneaking through side streets to hop on the old streets for a minute. And that is a normal process. And that's why I created a 12-week program, because it takes reps every day. 7 to 10 minutes a day is enough to build new neurological structures. And the reason why I chose 12 weeks, this is the work of Caroline Leaf, 7 to 10 minutes a day of focused attention for 21 days builds a new neural network, a new pathway in your nervous system. But it's a light pathway. You need another 21 days to get to a heavier tread pathway. That's 42 total days. And then you need another 21 days, which is 63 days, which is 12 weeks, give or take, to create a bolsterous, robust, hearty, meaty nervous system pathway from problem to solution, from pain to gain, from the pit to a new street. And we are not supposed to do it alone. That's why I created this program. I'm knocking off $100 from now till the end of the year. I'll have a little code in the thing. It actually starts technically December 28th through the 31st. And this is my pitch, because I would love for more people to join me in doing this work. And there's going to be a group program coming out in 2023 that I'm also very excited. So check out links, sign up for that. I'm knocking it down $100, so it's only $3.99 instead of $4.99 for the rest of the year. And then starting the new year, it's going up to $7.99. So, Yasmin, it feels as if my nervous system was programmed to be too resilient to chaos, and it allowed way more of it than it should. So now I'm learning to listen to the little cues. Yasmin, I respect you tremendously. We can be programmed for chaos. We can be programmed for healing. And where attention goes, energy flows. And I invite your attention to orient to that 5th street. Walk down a different street, my friend. Carve new paths in your nervous system that affects your mind and body, your thinking, feeling, and behaving, your relationships with other people, self, and life across the board. It is available for you, my ninjas. I am so deeply grateful to you, and I look forward to seeing you here live again next week. Take care, everybody.